Hi, I'm attorney Nancy Green, and I'm outstanding in my field. Seriously, I'm in my horse field. As America is starting to reopen and looking for ways to adapt its business to being in the middle of a pandemic, you may be wondering how to avoid some of the disruption to your business if things get worse again, or if there's another event like this. There are two ways really to get some protection for yourself in the event that you aren't able to perform your contracts because of things beyond your control. And unfortunately that means I'm going to speak a little bit of jargon, and I promise I'll translate it as quickly as possible. Those two things are an impossibility defense and force majeure, which comes from the French and literally means a superior force. Most people call it an acts of God provision, and that's how I'm going to refer to it from here on out. In an impossibility defense, the court and the law presumes that when you enter into an agreement, there are certain fundamental assumptions you make about it that would allow you to perform. And if circumstances change to prevent that performance or make it substantially more difficult to perform, then the court may excuse your performance of those terms. So for example, if you are doing a contract and it's set on a particular person doing the job, and that person becomes sick and is unable to perform, the court may excuse performance, and likely will in that situation. But what happens when you're a body shop, which means you're a staffing company, you're a security company, and you promise to put a certain number of butts in a seat, and because of a pandemic, you don't have that many people? An impossibility defense may help you there too. The problem with an impossibility defense is it's a defense, so if the other side of your contract isn't willing to renegotiate with you, you may end up in court. The second is it's fundamentally grounded on what's called equity, which is basically fairness. So your judge at the end of the day would have to decide that it would be unfair for you to perform, and here's where it gets tricky, the judge may change your contract for you. For example, if you had a real estate contract and you were buying property, and the calculation for the purchase price was based on zoning formula. Your county in the middle of the contract stops using that zoning formula. Well, now you don't know what the price is. So you may get released from the contract, or the court may say, as it did in a case in Leesburg, Virginia, you have to wait 21 years to see if the county starts using that formula again. The possibility didn't forgive your performance, it just delayed it. So it's never good to rely on what someone else thinks is fair down the road. The way you best protect yourself is that force majeure or acts of God clause. And those change consistently. So after 9/11, we added acts of terrorism. And they provide that if you can't perform what you agreed to do in your contract because of something beyond your control, lightning, floods, acts of gods, power outages, strikes, pandemics, your performance is excused. It's not a breach. And because you're drafting that and agreeing in advance, you can determine whether or not that's a complete release from the contract that delays your performance, or if the person has to accept lesser performance. So if you had 5 security guards, but you can only get 3 to the job site because everyone else is out sick with the pandemic, the client accepts that and you adjust. So keep in mind as you move forward that you want to be adding those acts of God clauses into your contracts where you can, and that if someone is, complaining that you couldn't perform, maybe right now you need to rely on an impossibility defense if you didn't have that act of God clause. These are very tricky legal issues, so please get legal advice. Especially if you're looking at an impossibility defense, because while I'm an attorney, just by listening to this video, I'm not your attorney. But again, I am Nancy Green, outstanding in my field. Have a great day.